Tonight, for our adversaries around the world, it's no secret that now would be the time to make a move. The Biden White House has multiple fires it's trying to put out at home, an administration with a trashed approval rating, and a population, Americans, that want nothing to do with another war, especially one in Ukraine. The situation between Russia and Ukraine is a complicated one. It has been for decades, but it suffices to say Russia really wants to possess Ukraine again for a multitude of reasons. And if you're Vladimir Putin, you've just watched a disaster of military incompetence in Afghanistan. You see an ailing American president, deeply unpopular in his own country. This is a moment. For 2 hours today, Biden met with Putin on a video call. Biden reportedly threatening severe financial consequences if Putin invades. A fairly large country with only a third of Russia's population, but fantastic real estate, far better than Russia, positioned right on the Black Sea, is Ukraine. The red stars, here you can see the line that divides Russia and Ukraine. The red stars revealing where the Russian troops are amassed tonight, more than 100,000 of them, situated all around Ukraine, and it is no joke. Biden's national security advisor, Jake Sullivan, trying to portray strength right now from a White House that, of course, has been riddled with weakness.
President Biden was direct and straightforward with President Putin, as he always is. He reiterated America's support for Ukraine's sovereignty and territorial integrity. He told President Putin directly that if Russia further invades Ukraine, the United States and our European allies would respond with strong economic measures. We would provide additional defensive materiel to the Ukrainians above and beyond that which we are already providing.
So think about this. In the past 7 years, we've seen Russian aggression toward Ukraine twice, once under Obama-Biden, and again now with Biden as the president. It's kind of crazy this didn't happen when Trump was in the White House, right? Very strange because, as we all know, thanks to our wonderful and very legitimate mainstream press, Trump was Putin's puppet. It's so weird how Putin never made these moves during those 4 years. Such a bizarre missed opportunity. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. Jen Psaki has attempted to talk tough when answering questions from reporters about all this. Take a listen.
We would like, of course, to see them de-escalate and, most importantly, not to invade. If they do, part of this call was to convey clearly there will be consequences and significant ones.
Somehow I doubt Putin is too concerned tonight. Former President Trump shared his thoughts on the summit today, saying in a statement, Vladimir Putin looks at our pathetic surrender in Afghanistan, leaving behind dead soldiers, American citizens, $85 billion in military equipment. He then looks at Biden. He is not worried. Right now, reports indicate the administration is planning an evacuation of all Americans currently inside of Ukraine. From the New York Post, the planning is reportedly being led by the Pentagon, which has laid out several different evacuation scenarios, including one in which non-essential U.S. government employees are removed and a larger plan in which all Americans are flown out. So they're going to try and do this one better than Afghanistan, I see. Sadly, we don't know much about what was said between Biden and Putin today. We just got a little snippet from Russian TV of the introductions, and it went just about as you would expect.
Hello.
Добрый день.
Good to see you again. Unfortunately, last time we didn't get to see one another at the G20. I hope next time we meet, we do it in person.
Remember, he's a foreign policy master. That's what he sold us on. Hello. After screwing around with the computer for 30 seconds, it didn't really start too well. At this point, the White House still thinks that it can diplomatically avoid a disaster with all of this, threatening sanctions that are so severe, Russia in the past actually considered them an act of war. And at this point tonight, it's just a threat. And then there's the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which is where this all gets very interesting. You remember the one from Russia to Germany that Biden incredibly waived U.S. sanctions against earlier this year? A pipeline that would make Germany, one of our most important and powerful allies in Europe, incredibly reliant on Russian oil and on Russia in general. Well, the same pipeline Biden was still trying to push sanctions away from as recently as last week, angering even some in his own party. Well, the White House is apparently confident that the recently completed Nord Stream pipeline could actually be used as leverage against Russia should they, say, decide to invade Ukraine. Take a listen.
When it comes to Nord Stream 2, the fact is that gas is not currently flowing through the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which means that it's not operating, which means that it's not leverage for Putin. Indeed, it is a leverage for the West, because if Vladimir Putin wants to see gas flow through that pipeline, he may not want to take the risk of invading Ukraine.
So that might be a fair statement, but we got to be real about one thing. The position from this White House on this pipeline is what emboldened Russia from the very start. They began this relationship, as liberals always do, from a position of capitulation, a position of weakness against, I don't know if you want to call them our enemies, but basically our enemies. And Putin, ever since, has been licking his lips. Regardless of what happens here, the pipeline to Germany should be axed. Right now, it appears that's only an option if the Russians invade. If not, they're still going to get their nice big present from the United States. In reality, even if Russia pauses the invasion and pulls back, this is a deal that needs to die. If what our government says about Russia is true, and they say terrible things about Russia all the time, and they're obsessed with Russia all the time, how can they actually allow this country any kind of leverage over an ally like Germany, a country so important? How can they let Russia have that much power over Europe? Literally, power, powering their countries. You can't be threatening to invade other nations like Ukraine and keep this crazy energy deal that's in the works at the same time. But again, we don't have the smartest people in charge. These are the same people pushing for no bail on felons after their 30th arrest. They don't learn, they don't understand how bad things can get and who not to trust. And in this White House, you almost can know that they're going to probably screw this up. Why would they ever learn a lesson? They haven't learned one yet. Back in July, the president was asked about imposing sanctions on Nord Stream 2.
My view on Nord Stream 2 has been known for some time. Good friends can disagree. But by the time I became president, it was 90% completed. And imposing sanctions did not seem to make any sense.
Well, they kind of do now. Nice work there. But what happens if Russia actually does invade? If this actually goes, I mean, they've got 100,000 troops amassed. So obviously something seems to be up. They blow off the sanctions, they disregard the pipeline deal, they make their move that they've wanted to make for a long time. There are plenty of war-hungry neocons in Washington that would love a new conflict somewhere in the world, of course. And you'll hear the same tired politicians on both sides of the aisle screaming about protecting democracy around the world and protecting Ukraine from Russian aggression so we don't have to fight them here in this country, and the same lines you hear all the time. Right now, the Taliban is doing unspeakable things to people in Afghanistan who actually helped us fight a war for 20 years. And we're not going back in there. And based on that, you'd have to think it would be a joke to see American involvement over Ukraine. But who knows?